obviously your love of Cajun food, because only someone who loves Cajun food this much would turn it into a business.
The SCCA formed because I had an idea. There was a bunch of local cook-offs. I was one of the biggest ones. We should do some kind of crawfish cook-off league.
I'll tell you this, and this is something that we haven't said before. When we talk about Cajun food, Cajun culture and Creole culture and Louisiana culture in general is a way of life, and our food is a byproduct of that. If you're coming from the outside looking in, once you learn that, then you start to get a real insight into why we are the way that we are and why we cook the way that we cook.
The SCCA, Brandon, to your point, it's like there are so many amazing Cajun cook-offs, but there is no organization with any of them. Like, yes, we have the World Championship Gumbo Cook-Off that went on. They're the OGs, though. They're doing an amazing job. But there's no credibility to get into that cook-off. Like for us, for the World Championship Crawfish, you have to earn that. Yeah, and so not to knock anybody or anything they've done, but I just saw this need, and I think everybody's kind of seeing it now. Where it's like, this is a cool thing. I always say success comes when opportunity meets preparation.
Hello and welcome to Stirring the Pod podcast, a podcast all about discussing controversial food subjects, historical aspects of food, and pretty much everything else food and cooking related. Let me introduce my co-hosts. First up, we have Mr. Barbecue Brand, our resident pitmaster and a past guest on Food Network's Barbecue USA. Welcome, Barbecue Brand.
What's cooking, everybody? It's your boy Barbecue Brand, your favorite pitmaster's favorite pitmaster. Let's go.
Second up, we have Mr. Brandon D., a connoisseur of Louisiana and Southern cuisine, champion crawfish boiler, and a self-proclaimed food science nerd.
Thank you, everybody. We're about to have a good show here for everyone.
I am KCP, your host and cookie queen. Tonight, we have a very special guest in the studio with us. This guy is a jack of all trades, but most notably known for being the owner and founder of the Crawfish Critic and one of the founders of the Southern Cajun Cookoff Association, SCCA. Please join us in welcoming Christian Waldo to the show. Welcome, Christian.
Hey. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yes, ma'am. I'm very happy to be here with you guys. I've been watching the podcast for a while, and I know that we saw each other at the Creator Cook-Off and said, man, we got to get on an episode together. So done a lot of cool stuff since then, but that's kind of where it all started, huh?
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Give us the whole backstory.
Yes, ma'am. So you guys are going to be blown away to hear this, but if you can't tell by my accent, I'm a Texan. I'm born and raised in Conroe, just a little north of Houston. So what am I doing running a Cajun cook-off league as a Texan? That's the first thing that everybody's going to say in comments.
Let them know.
Yeah.
So born and raised in Conroe, Texas, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
So when did you turn, obviously, your love of Cajun food, because only someone who loves Cajun food this much would turn it into a business?
Yes. So I guess it all started for me. I've loved crawfish since I was a kid. I always had I had a buddy's dad, and he always cooked the best crawfish growing up. And I always told him, I knew he was going to be an entrepreneur. I told him one day, I'm going to have enough money, I'm going to buy your own restaurant. And one day he hit me up. He said, hey, man, it looks like you're doing pretty good. I'm going to take you up on that restaurant offer. And I told him, I said, all right, well, what do you have in mind? And he wanted to buy a full-size school bus, break it down into a crawfish boiling bus. And we called it the Swamp Buggy. And so we did it. And we went and did one event. And I had done it more as a side investment, right? And we went and did one event. And after that event, I said, no more. I'm done. I don't want to be a crawfish boiler. I didn't get into it for that. We had to help out a lot during it.
Yeah.
But the whole start to where I'm at now really came from me trying to brainstorm how to promote that crawfish buzz. And so I had an idea. Actually, my wife and I were sitting there one night, and I said, why don't we start a Facebook group? That's a real popular thing. This was 8 years ago, right? And why don't we do it about all the best local crawfish restaurants in our area? And then we'll just tell everybody we got the best crawfish because, and so that's where the Crawfish Critic Montgomery County Facebook group kind of came from. And so after I parked the bus, had that crazy event, And, we were the only food truck there. There's like 3,000 people. It was called
Oh,
Muddy
man.
Ball. And they all, it was insane. And we got our butts kicked. And I was like, look, I didn't sign up for this. He didn't really know that he was doing too much. And so we kind of parted ways. I took my bus, I parked it. More on that later, but that turned into the Crawfish Critic. So I had the group, and then all of a sudden that group was blowing up. People were sharing where their favorite crawfish was from, and local restaurants and stuff. And restaurants were leaving marketing on it. And then they started asking me to. So I started going around doing reviews, and then they were asking me to come do reviews, and then they were asking me to be judges at the local cook-offs. And all of a sudden I became known as the Crawfish Critic, and it was complete by accident.
Wow.
Now I always loved crawfish, and so as we got into this group and everybody's arguing about who has the best crawfish, I said, well, why don't we throw a Crawfish Critic cook-off? And that was 7 years ago.
Wow.
We did it in the middle of COVID, so that was crazy. All the other events around shut down, and so we ended up having like 3,000 people at our first event ever, and sold out the brewery with beer. Hard to believe, Southern Star Brewery.
Wow.
We had to bring beer from the store to sell at the brewery. So
That's crazy.
It was a great success. And then that's when I realized, like, hey, I think we're kind of onto something here. And
Nice.
since then, we've grown. I think we have about 48,000 members. Now, that doesn't seem a lot to social media creators and stuff, but it's 48,000 members all in one area. And
That's
so
a lot.
I love crawfish. And so when we throw our events, those people come out. And so we have some pretty massive events now. We're in the fairgrounds this year. And so actually the whole story, to ramble on just to get through this part, the SCCA formed because I had an idea. There was a bunch of local cook-offs. I was one of the biggest ones. And I was like, man, we should do some kind of crawfish cook-off league, right? There's all kinds of barbecue brand. You know all about it, man. The barbecue world is so organized. All the events are a part of a sanctioning body, and there's standardized rules and judging. There's point systems. There's world championships. There's, just all this cool stuff that in the Cajun world I didn't see. And so I said to myself the same thing all you're saying. Why would a Texan be running this? And I knew that was going to be the thing. Well, guess what? I called Stellcracker's manager and I said, hey, buddy, how much I got to pay you to come to my event? I paid him a good amount of money. He came to the event. It was the best money I ever spent in my entire life because we had a line a mile long all day of people wanting to meet Stellcracker, and I knew this was the guy. And I actually had a few other on my list, but he was my number one, right? And so I gave him the idea. I said, hey, man, I want to do this. I want to start the SCCA. I think it's amazing what the barbecue people do. I think we should have something like that for the Cajun world. And he liked it. And here we are. So now him and I, Stellcracker and I founded the SCCA with my brother, my cousin. It's a family deal. And we're going 3 years strong now. So pretty
Awesome. Awesome, man.
That's a great story.
Incredible.
I love it. It.
It's like no, like you talked to a bunch of people, food wise, social media. Nobody plans this stuff, man. It just kind of falls. It just kind of falls. It kind of falls into place, and you just improvise and adapt as it comes along. So
that's it. I always say success comes when opportunity meets preparation. Right.
That's right.
I like that.
That's right.
That's wow. Yeah, absolutely. So how many events does the SCCA host right now?
So host-wise, we host the World Championship. We host the Louisiana State Championship, which is Stellcracker's Cajun Two-Step Fest. And then we have the Crawfish Critic, which is the Texas State Championship. So those are the three current events we host. And then we do a Cajun cook-off in the off-season down here in Tomball, Texas. That's the one you guys just came to that we just got done with. So that was fun. That was kind of our first step into that gumbo jambalaya world. That's actually where we met Rusty with Rusty Seasoning. All of you guys came from that relationship. Yeah. Rusty's the reason we brought the World Championship to Broussard. He came down for our first Cajun event, and we've become fast friends since then. And he's helped us a lot, done a lot of great things. And he actually inspired us to evolve from the Southern Crawfish Cook-Off Association, which was the original name of the SCCA, to the Southern Cajun Cook-Off Association. And so what we ended up doing upon Rusty's request was we took the World Championship, the Super Bowl, we took Stellcracker's state championship and my state championship here, the Critic, and we made them all Triple Crown events, meaning gumbo, jambalaya, and crawfish, which is great for the guys that are paying for all the crawfish. So what I do, I have the team start serving gumbo and jambalaya 1 hour early. Everybody gets their bellies full of rice. And it's not so much crawfish because that's real expensive, especially
right.
Yes, it was during the crawpocalypse. Y'all remember that?
Oh gosh, that
Yes.
was awful.
Mhm.
Awful.
Oh yeah.
From the SCCA.
Wow.
Wow.
That was awful. You know,
All the events started canceling, and the ones that didn't were struggling to get crawfish. And when you do all you can eat for $35, I mean, it's pretty thin little margins. And then all of a sudden, when your crawfish go from $2 a pound to $4 a pound,
Right.
The events start getting worried, and rightfully so.
Right.
And so yeah, that's pretty much how that all kind of evolved and evolving, and so being with you guys here, we have so much to talk about, but
Yeah.
anyways, we'll keep rolling with it.
That's
Yeah.
exciting. You know, branching into the Cajun food and the gumbo and the jambalaya. I mean, there's so many Cajun dishes. You know, I think black pot, anything over rice is another good category to do. Etouffee, which kind of falls into anything over rice, but you know, those
But
are
yeah,
all good things
etouffee
to
in
do.
itself, I mean, Rusty won the etouffee world championship.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there's obviously some stuff going on there.
Yeah.
And with the SCCA, Brandon, to your point, it's like there are so many amazing Cajun cook-offs, but there is no organization with any of them. Like, yes, we have the World Championship Gumbo Cook-Off that went on. They're the OGs, though. They're doing an amazing job. But there's no credibility to get into that cook-off. Like for us, for the World Championship Crawfish, you have to earn that, right? KCBS, you can't just willy-nilly go into the KCBS World Championship in Kansas for barbecue and just enter. You know, you have to. There has to be some type of earning that, right? Because for you, it's a privilege to even get invited to the KCBS, right?
That's right.
And
That's right.
Yeah. And so not to knock anybody or anything they've done, but I just saw this need, and I think everybody's kind of seeing it now. It's like, this is a cool thing. Let's bring all this together. And with us, our model is we're inclusive to everyone. We want everyone to be involved. You know, we want other promoters to throw events. We don't want to host a bunch of events. We just want to give you all the hard work that we've put together with softwares and judging strategy and bringing brilliant minds like yourselves. And we'll kind of get into, you know, what I hope you guys will join the SCCA and be a huge part of with us. You know? But it's very exciting. And so I think Rusty and I kind of talked about, I think we're going to do crawfish, gumbo, jambalaya as the first three. And then we're going to do basically the anything else category. So if you compete in any of these other ones, now once we get enough sanctioned events that are doing specifically that category, whether it's anything over rice or anything in a black pot or, you know, etouffee, for instance, or any of those, right? If we get enough sanctioned events that are doing that category, then we could make that into its own category. But until then, the other really is the farm, right? To try and get more of those category cook-offs, you know? So that's kind of the game plan that we're going to roll with.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's definitely something that's needed, you know, like just to have it like as a sanctioned event, to have all these things all together, just like the barbecue community, you know, like I think it's important. And I think that it promotes more awareness to Cajun culture too, you know, like bringing people from the outside in. So this is like a very big attractant to tourists too. So I think you guys are definitely on the right track with this.
I appreciate you saying that. And I'll tell you this, I'm a pretty analytical guy myself, especially when it comes to marketing and things like that. And so when I look at the analytics, you know, Texans are actually all of the Louisiana content creators' biggest fan base. You know, Texan people love Cajun food, right? You know, whereas, and I don't mean to offend anybody on this, but you know, there's some Cajuns out there that watch some of these content creators like this, like, no, that's not how we do it, right? But Texans are just like, hey, that's cool. I love that. You know, this is great. Oh, you do gumbo 5 different ways? Wow, I got to try all 5 of those. Where they're like, oh, that's my mama's way, you know.
Yes, there's a lot in the Cajun world of, you know, the way my mom did it was the way that we have to do it, and that's just you know, everybody has like a different kind of tradition. You know, everybody grew up with different access. People's family did different things. Some people were shrimpers. Some people raised, pigs. Some people, you know, there's all kinds of different things. So your dishes kind of vary by region, what you had access to.
Right. And so what I've found is that, you know, Louisiana folks, Cajuns, Creole, they're so proud of where they come from, their area code. And I'll tell you one of the most exciting things. I'm going to drop it, but I'm not going to talk too much about it, right? I actually have an alarm going off to make sure I made it to this podcast on time. It's late. They can't rely on technology, right? So there's talks of some big guys putting together an area code gumbo cook-off.
Yeah.
And I'm helping hopefully put that together.
I have heard the rumors.
Yeah. Because I love that what you're saying about the different regions in Louisiana doing things different ways. No matter what gumbo video you watch on the internet right now, there is 100 people saying that's wrong. It don't matter what way. Every way
that's a fact. That's a fact.
I'll tell you this, and this is something that we haven't said before, and it's when we talk about Cajun food, Cajun culture and Creole culture and Louisiana culture in general is a way of life, and our food is a byproduct of that.
I love that.
When you learn that, if you're coming from the outside looking in, once you learn that, then you start to get a real insight into why we are the way that we are and why we cook the way that we cook. Because our culture is one thing and our food is a byproduct of that.
It's true because, like you look at people that live in similar areas, they're going to cook similar dishes. I mean, like the Creoles are not just in New Orleans. Creoles are all over the state, all over South Louisiana. Creoles in like where I'm from, the 337 Lafayette area, they don't cook like people from New Orleans. They cook like Cajuns. It would be very, very difficult to distinguish like a 337 Creole food from Cajun food. It's almost the same. It's gonna vary. It'll vary more between person to person than in any group of people to another. So it's not, the variance is like, it varies for one, but the person to person variance is is going to be your most change. It's not going to be
very good. Yeah.
Right. Right.
I'm with you. That's why I love cooking, because I like to make things how I like it.
Right. Exactly. And there are all these like unwritten rules about Cajun food, right? Like I've heard pretty much everything, like you don't put land and sea in the same pot, and you don't put there's all these things.
Yes. I remember Dave almost like he was a judge at my event. We did an open and they turned in a gumbo, and it had sausage, chicken, some shrimp, some other things. And no. And my dad never forgot. My dad was sitting right there. It was the first time we'd ever met him. And, so we were like kind of, sitting there like, man, this is so cool. Right. And he's eating it and he's like, oh no, you never mix, it's chicken and sausage. It's either seafood or chicken and sausage, It's like,
I just tell people that if you say don't mix land and sea, don't catch me eating you eating a bacon wrap shrimp.
Stop. Yeah, right. Bacon wrap shrimp or the sausage.
Sausage and shrimp. People say I don't mix land and sea, and then they go make like a shrimp and sausage pasta. I'm like, okay, like look, when we made gumbo, it was whatever we had on hand. My grandmother had access to a lot of shrimp. My mom had access to a lot of shrimp. They weren't going to buy extra chicken if they could throw shrimp in the gumbo.
Yeah.
Right.
Get it?
First of all, this is Southern Louisiana. We don't say sea. Who uses the word sea?
Yeah.
That's number one.
She's just
this whole social media gumbo going back and forth. I watch it all and I'm like, man, this it cracks me up. I love it. People are passionate about their culture, right? So that's why it's not just food. It's the byproduct of the culture that they're passionate about.
Yeah.
So
right.
I think it's a cool concept. And so like the way that we kind of evolved, it was like, instead of having one person from each area code, we're going to have one, kind of top level influencer from each area code be like the team captain, and then recruit 5 or 6 different teams from that area that can all cook a different style that's, relative to that area. Right.
Right. That sounds
kind of see what happens, and just and it's more for just people to come out and see different styles of gumbo and see, hey, look, there's a lot. It's all good though.
Oh yeah,
You could do a gumbo that's different. That's just as traditional as another one. I mean, you want to talk about
kinds.
If you want to talk about you want to talk about original gumbo, the original OG gumbo is okra. I mean, that's what it's based on, man. And the newest one is roux, probably.
Roux is the newest?
I would say so. It's probably the most but you have to think about why roux became popular. It's because roux is a stabilizer. Roux makes anything stable. You throw roux into something and it's locked down. I mean, you can't, if the amount of heat it would take to break the emulsion on a roux on a gumbo is just insane. Like, you would evaporate all the water before you broke it.
Right.
It would burn. it's so stable. So roux's a great stabilizer, and it's very traditional French. But the way roux was used is kind of innovative. Like whereas maybe people would use a little bit of roux, they might make a filet gumbo with the filet powder and roux. But usually, the roux became more because filet is kind of a tricky ingredient to deal with. Because you can, if you use too much or you cook it, you can turn it real slimy. So that's
people put it on afterwards, right?
Right, exactly. It doesn't need any cooking. It doesn't. You don't need to cook it at all. Like it takes no heat. And then people start making big batches of gumbo, and then they're reheating it, and the filet is getting weird in it. And
I love how deep you go into, and that is why I was so intrigued and impressed when I started watching this podcast and the way that your brain works. I'm like, that is the type of people that you need helping, structure the league, like these judges. Right. And so like the podcast that you guys did right after my event last year, it was about all the events that you kind of went to, and you guys talked about the judging and how important it is. And you had so much intelligent, constructive criticism. I'm like, that is exactly what we need. And that's what we want to be in the SCCAs. We want to bring in people that are far smarter and more intelligent than me. And as a Texan, that's not educated in all of the ways of the Cajuns, right? Especially when it comes to that crawfish, I can hold my own, right? But all this other stuff. So when I told my mom we were having this Cajun cook-off, so my mom is 70 years old. Her mom before her had her when she was like 40. So that would make her whatever that.
Oh, wow.
110 years old she would be right now. She was like, well, she had a recipe passed on for her mom, which is, I guess, a Creole gumbo recipe. And it's been the recipe my mom cooked my whole life. And it's a seafood gumbo with okra, tomatoes. And so I'm like shooting a video. I'm like, hey, I want you to show me the recipe, the family recipe. And because I've loved it my entire life, I always put a lot of crab oil in it. I just love it spicy. And so it's always perfect. So anyways, I tell her I'm throwing this Cajun. I'm like, I want to shoot the video. And then I start watching other videos. I'm like, now, you know what? Let's not post this. Let's keep that family recipe. Right?
Yeah.
Secrets out.
Oh, you didn't want to go viral, Christian? You didn't want to go viral, man?
Not right before my first gumbo cook-off. The first real good gumbo I ever had is the first time I ever met Amy, which is Stowcracker's wife, which y'all judged with. She's awesome. So we go to her house and she made a gumbo with turkey necks in it, and it was just almost black. It was dark. It had the smoky. It was the best thing I ever had, and it was the first time I ever ate it with potato salad. Right, and I became a huge fan right then and there. I'm like, okay, cool. I need to figure out how to make this type of gumbo too. It's different stuff, right? And so y'all are gonna hate that I say this, but I've been doing a thing with my wife, and we bond. So you Louisiana guys, lay off me a little bit on this, right? But we go into AI and we go and say, hey, we want to make this type of meal. Give me a recipe and teach me like I've never cooked it before. And I had a few tricks up my sleeve that I knew from some things and talking to some people, right? I feel like I made a phenomenal gumbo all off of AI. And I told it, go find the 10 best traditional Cajun recipes that people were talking about for a good chicken and sausage gumbo. And I said, mix it together. I want it as authentic as it can be. I want to do my roux like this. I told it a few things that I wanted to do, and it was phenomenal. So if you've never tried cooking with AI, not bad. I'll tell you another thing. We went and took a video, different pictures of ingredients we had, and we said, hey, make us a meal out of all this. And I'll tell you what, that was pretty good too. So
is that awesome. The one you made this week?
I did. I made that.
It did look really good. If y'all haven't seen it on social media, you need to go check out his pictures of his gumbo. It was beautiful.
That was my second time making a gumbo. Hey, and I got pops all over me for making that roux all over my hands.
It's zero fun. I gotta get
one of those Stern podcast
spattles.
Yes, that you guys gave me. It's in my dad's car.
Yeah,
mine was too short, and it got my hand too close to it. It was a terrible thing.
Yeah, that's completely.
I think what it was for me was I was getting complacent, and I think I splashed some.
Oh yeah. That happens all the time.
I don't think it was
going too hard.
Yeah,
going too hard.
That's nice words.
I mean, that stuff. It's an instantaneous. If you get like a good bit on you, it's an instantaneous 3rd-degree burn. It is awful. So Yeah.
Just for a public announcement, I've never claimed to be a chef. I'm really good at organizing, hosting, and marketing events and bringing everything together. That's why I'm coming to you guys for the expertise on exactly what the categories should be, and let's talk about that. How did you guys, this was your first time kind of being on the judges side for the SCCA.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your experience with that and what you guys thought about it, and completely candid on if you have any constructive criticism. I know we'll talk about it a lot more offside, but let's talk about it here too.
I thought the scoring system I think is correct. The 1 to 10 through, and then the categories. No problem with that. The description is what you have for gumbos. I think that's pretty good. I mean,
yeah.
I think maybe we could refine it and say, hey, look, there are different gumbos you may come across that may like say, hey, look, you come across an okra based gumbo or another kind of gumbo. Don't think that it's wrong just because it has okra in it. Right. That's kind of like training thing, because you can run. Most people are going to cook roux, but you may have some oddball out there said, "Man, I'm going to make okra gumbo for these people and really throw them for a loop." And I don't want somebody to think that's wrong because they did it. It's just a different style. All these styles are valid. All of them are traditional, and one doesn't cancel out the other one.
Right.
These things can coexist at the same time and all be correct. It
I think that's the most important takeaway from listening to your podcast about judging in general was that we've got to, number one, try and choose more educated judges when we're doing these really massive events, right? When we're doing the state championships and the world championships, we did for the world tournament. We had some good judges there, and we'll talk about that in a second. The reason I was laughing because I was remembering. I want to talk about that real quick. So KP picked some amazing chefs, and we had DJ Rhett, we had Pat in the Pot, and we had some really just award-winning chefs that are out in that area that are just highly regarded in that aspect. And KP handpicked them all so that they could come and judge the Super Bowl. And so here's the thing, right? This Super Bowl was a crawfish Super Bowl. All the teams from the year before that went to all those events we sanctioned, I think we sanctioned over 40. So all the winners of all those events all came in and competed for the world championship, right, in crawfish. Well, some of those teams, a lot of them were Texas teams that won a lot of Texas events. Now, they said, "Oh, there's a gumbo category. I'll try it out." And you should have seen DJ Rhett and Amy Stoutcrackers and all that. They were like yours. They were blown away by some of these Texas gumbos, man. So,
yeah,
it was awesome watching them at the judges' table react to those.
Yeah, that's funny. Gumbo's supposed to be balanced, so overloading it with any flavor is going to tend to kind of throw it off. So, it's supposed to be a pretty balanced dish, and if you put too much, like if you really like a herbal note and you put too much herbs in there, some people are not used to that. So, you got to kind of take it easy with the herbs. Take it easy with the spice. You don't want to smoke people out. Not everybody can handle a really hot, really spicy food. So. Right. Balance is the key. That's what I say.
100%, man.
I definitely wanted to say is overall judging the event in Tomball was an amazing time, and I wish Barbecue Brand would have been there with us. So next time, we definitely have to pull him into the ranks. Yes. And but overall, everyone cooked well.
Yeah, 100%.
Really well.
We brought some good teams.
Yeah,
to this one that have practiced and tried really hard. Now, I want to get into this part because I love the Texas-Louisiana rivalry that me and Stoutcracker have kind of stirred up because we in crawfish we go back and forth, right? We'll have a big world championship. We have a Texas team win, right? Josh Flores, first world champion. At the state championship in mine. We had a Texas team win, and we had Louisiana teams right there on their tails. But overall, crawfish, we've been pretty back and forth, right? And so we always kind of do that Texas versus Louisiana thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to a bunch of gumbo cook-offs leading up to this one in Texas. I drove to Galveston, and I went and talked to every team, and I said, guys, these Louisiana people are kicking our butts in gumbo and jambalaya. We are not even close. I'm talking about it's like the bottom half of the teams are Texas and the top half are Louisiana, and it ain't even close. And I was like, I need some people. And so I went and told all of them at these cookouts, and I gave my cards. I need you to represent Texas against Stellcracker and these Louisiana guys.
Nice.
And so guess what? One of them came through for me, came to the event, and won the whole thing in gumbo, a Texas team. Potbelly Smoker. Shout out to that band. They're
Wow.
It was good.
That they actually won that cook-off too, and I didn't know. I told them, I gave them all my card, and I said, "All right, after the awards, if you don't win them, come take that back." You know, and I was joking. They ended up winning them, and they ended up coming down and then winning ours against Rusty, against KP, against all these amazing chefs that came down from Louisiana. So I was super proud, but we did get blown out in jambalaya. First through third, jambalaya was, and then we also Louisiana took second and third in gumbo too. So. You know, you got to take the small wins, though.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, jambalaya is tough, man. That is a tough dish. I mean, in those quantities and
between
you know, the quantity of jambalaya and the technique of jambalaya. Jambalaya is also a dual. Like you have a dual version of that. You have Creole jambalaya, which has got a tomato base to it, and then you have Cajun jambalaya, which is more of a brown meat gravy flavored thing.
Like, yeah.
And they're both good. They're both really good, but they're just their own thing. You know, they're their own thing. But you could judge one against the other, but you have to judge not on what you prefer, but on who executed what dish better. You know,
right,
absolutely.
I'm with you on that. So what about jambalaya, right? Because when I was going to call our gumbo jambalaya cook-off the jambalaya cook-off, Steph Carter was like, "Do not do that. Do not do that." He was like, "We don't do that around." I'm like, "Oh, all right, cool. That's why that's why the Cajun to help me, right?" And so we didn't call it that. But one of the teams that won first place jambalaya, the jambalaya pot, he gave me his jambalaya and then put his gumbo on top. I was like, "Here, try this jambalaya," and I was like, and it was phenomenal. I'm like, dude, why would you ever want to put white rice under that? For me personally, right? I thought it was way better that way. You know?
Yeah,
but apparently not a thing you're supposed to say. So
no, I wouldn't. You definitely will get some side eyes for that.
Yeah.
Now, living here in Texas, I've definitely witnessed some kind of fusion things like that, though. So I've noticed that they will put crawfish etouffee over like dirty rice, which I thought was interesting, which is a really good take on things. But there you go, you got land and sea, right? So those rules there, those unwritten rules.
My stomach makes my rules.
Yeah. Again, that's the ultimate rule is if it tastes good, it is good. There's nothing more to say than that. If it tastes good, I can't really say anything about it.
Don't post it on social media.
No, you don't want to get dragged through the mud. And I think what it is Louisiana people are a lot of times people will take like a Cajun dish or a Creole dish and they'll just try to make this mashup thing. Like they'll just, I'm going to put roux and okra and filet and gumbo and chicken and sausage and shrimp and clam. And it's just like, man, like pick something. Like this is not a freezer dump. Don't dump your freezer into your gumbo. Everything you find in your freezer doesn't need to go in there. Yeah. And it's just, for me, it's like, just kind of stick to a lane. You know, the people make these recipes and people take this stuff as like gospel. And it's like, dude, this is not how it's done. You would not mix. I've never seen anybody. I've seen people make filet gumbo, okra gumbo, roux gumbo. I've never seen somebody mix all three. You could have roux and a filet. You could have roux and an okra, but you're not going to put filet in okra gumbo. That's like nonsense.
Right.
It really is.
So here's something I want to get y'all's opinion. Maybe we'll get done to the ringer for this one too. But what I want to do is, we had 6 judges. I wanted to tell everybody to turn in 7 gumbos, and I wanted to make a gumbo suicide. You ever go with your grandpa to McDonald's and you get every single soda, right? And I wanted to take 1 cup of everybody's going, mix it all together and just see what happens, dude. And
that's funny.
Yeah, maybe it end up being pretty good. Who knows? You know,
you never know, man. That's funny.
Here, man.
I'll watch.
You people watching, huh? Yeah, I probably have to taste. I'd have to tell the judges, like, take the ones out that we shouldn't put into this suicide. Yeah,
I mean, like, they were, like I would say, like, you know, everything that we had and that was edible. Like everything was edible, but some, like there was one in particular that was really skirting the line, whether this was chicken soup or gumbo. It didn't taste bad.
Was it red?
No, it was very light colored, and it was like I said, I don't know
exactly who you're talking about. Yeah,
and I was like, this isn't bad. This doesn't taste bad at all. I said, I mean, if you'd have just told me it's chicken soup, but it didn't. You know, it has to ring gumbo flavor. You know, it has to be recognized as gumbo. Yeah. And if you gave it to somebody and said that's gumbo, they'd be like, it is? Is it? You know, it's kind of like you don't want people questioning what it is. You know, when you see something that's got like a you know a brown to really dark color, and you're like, oh, that's gumbo, man. You know, but this was like, this could be chicken soup. You know, some type of like.
It's a good chicken soup, but chicken soup nonetheless, right?
Yeah.
What about the red one? Did y'all try the red one? I mean, yes, you did. You were judging.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one. You remember that one?
And crab and all that. It was spicy. So I know who made that one, and I ate some of it. And to be fair, that was my favorite one. Now, it ranked almost at the very bottom, right? Because it did not look like gumbo at all. It probably, but it was, I loved it. It was one of my favorites. And I was like, that's why I'd be a terrible judge.
Well, my thing about it is like, it was kind of thick, which was, you know, it's not bad, but it was kind of, it really had a flavor of more like a coubillon or a bouillabaisse. And I was like, it's really good. Like in anything over rice competition, that would have been a really strong contender. But it just didn't. Yeah, the spicy red one. It just didn't ring gumbo enough for me. It's like, this is kind of like, you know, because when you say gumbo, like you're boxing yourself in and you're setting an expectation. So when I tasted this, it's not what I expect to taste out of gumbo. It did taste good. It was well cooked. Like it really was, but it didn't ring gumbo. And that's the thing. Like if it's like I said, if it was anything over rice competition, they could cook that at anything over rice. Very, very strong contender. Like it had a good seafood flavor. The flavor was balanced. It was spicy. It was
I want to get into more is I want to get into these anything in a black pot, anything over rice or the open. Like so last year we did the Cajun Open at this event, and so it's basically any Cajun dish, chef's choice is basically what we call it.
Yeah,
right? And the amount of amazing things I got to sample that day after the judges were done, I'd get the leftovers, you know. Yeah. I'm like, dude, this is way better than going and trying 20 different crawfishes or, you know, 20 different gumbos or whatever. Like, dude, this is everyone's a different thing. I'm like, that's the kind. When they need a judge for that, that's when I'm gonna jump in.
Well, you know, you know, for a cook, it's a lot of fun because you're not boxed in. So you see more creative. The only thing with these competitions, when you do anything over rice, black pot, blank slate, you have to provide a description of what you're serving because otherwise the judges could get lost.
That's smart. You know, I like that. And it can't, so like, because we do everything blind, right? You can't go and give the chef's compliment or the chef's, you know, speech, right? Hey guys, this is da-da-da-da-da, because then they know the team, right? But I think exactly what you said, we have like a template, like here, send me it, and then we'll print it out. So that way there's no identifying marks that would hint.
Right. It's just the name of the dish, nothing that it was cooked with, no ingredients. Just say, hey, look, I made crawfish étouffée. That's what it is. So then I have an expectation of that. I made like say somebody made like a shrimp stew. I'll have an expectation of that. Somebody said I made bouillabaisse. Expectation set. So that way you don't want your judges like confused, like, whoa, what is this? You know, that's what you don't want. You want them to know, hey, look, this is just a plain text description of what it is, like you would see on, you know, just the headline, nothing else, no ingredients, no descriptions, no handwriting. It has to all come, the description all has to come from the same person writing it out, you know, that kind of thing.
Right. No, I love it, man. And the way that you guys look at food is amazing, you know, and that you're the type of people that need to be helping out with these different events and creating, you know, not being there, but creating some type of guidelines that these judges need to go through. Because, you know, as the SCCA, I send one representative to each event, and that representative is there to oversee and make sure everything is done fairly, right? But the event itself is in charge of recruiting its own judges. Right? We can't recruit judges for 50, 60 events,
Oh yeah, that's impossible.
Yeah. And so they have to be in charge of it. But we want to make sure that those judges come in with the right with the right understanding of what they're judging, how to judge it. Like, I'll give you some examples in crawfish cook-offs. We'll have judges that don't even suck the crawfish head. It's like, you can't really be a judge if you don't, for crawfish, like in the way we do crawfish. I mean, juice in the head and the flavor in that head is one of the most important things of judging a crawfish, And so with gumbo jambalaya, it's even more important to have judges that understand what they're talking about and understand the things that you do. And so that's why I'm excited to work with you guys and maybe put together some type of 15-minute little course on hey, these are the different categories and here's what to look for. In this category, this is bad, this is good, right? And break that down for them and through those things. And then, we've done that with crawfish, and now it's time to bring some experts in to do it with that kind of stuff.
Right.
So very excited.
We are very excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a lot of fun.
So let me switch gears just a little bit. So we're going to do some little questions for you, Christian.
Okay.
So, all right. Your favorite food, like your guilty pleasure.
Crawfish and tacos. Off season, I'm a taco guy. I'm down here in Texas, right? And we have some really good Tex-Mex. And so I love some street tacos and then crawfish. I mean, that is the number one for me.
So. Yeah.
All right. Since you're a Texan, this is a big one for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Brisket, sauce or no sauce?
You're going to hate me for this barbecue brand, but I'm actually not a big fan of brisket. I'm not. I'm not. It's good. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'll eat a good brisket sandwich or chopped beef, or chopped brisket. There's all different types of way to eat it. And if I do that, I'm going to be sauce. So I'll say it that I'm a barbecue sauce guy. I've had some good ones. I've had some great ones. I've been to, all the famous ones. Larry Black's and they got those everywhere in Austin. We have some great ones down here. I've been to them. I ate the brisket, and it's not my favorite thing in the barbecue plate.
Hey,
so is that your favorite barbecue brand?
No. I actually prefer cooking it more than I like eating it. So I get it.
Yeah, and cooking it is one thing, man. Like, when you've been smelling it for 18 hours, eating it can sometimes be kind of challenging. It's like, man, I've just cooked this thing for a long time, and I gotta. So, what is your favorite barbecue item if it's not a brisket?
I would have to say, which is crazy to even say, but I eat it at all the barbecue places, Cajun turkey. I love turkey. And so that's my favorite, Cajun turkey. And I love some good ribs, pork, beef, doesn't matter. Good ribs are good.
I love them.
And then the sausage. I love any type of jalapeno sausage, jalapeno cheddar sausage, my favorite, that all works good too. But, my wife hates me for it. She hates that I don't love barbecue like her. It's never, if you ask me where I want to eat it, you'll never hear me say, let's go get barbecue. Now, if she wants to get it, I'll be like, all right, I'll do it for you. But it's just, I don't know. I would eat Mexican food and Cajun food every day if it was
nice.
Okay. Pastelaya or jambalaya?
I'm a pastelaya guy. String me up for it. Some people, DJ Rhett would hate to hear me say that, right? But I like it better. But I'll tell you this, one of the best jambalayas I've ever had in my entire life, which made me rethink that I actually do love jambalaya, was from Sky and KP, from Cooking with KP and Swamp Mule. I was over at their house. They hosted us for the Super Bowl, and KP and Sky got to cooking, and they made a seafood pizza, and they made one of the best jambalayas I've ever had in my life. I mean, he has this smoke shack out back, smoked all his tallow, smoked all his meat, put it together right there. And it was just like, okay, you know what? I think I like jambalaya, so, but overall I've always liked pastelaya better.
You should have pastelaya as a category that DJ Wright's judging just to drive him nuts.
Oh, he'll love that. He will
just a specific pastelaya and have him try like 12 or 15 of them. He'll be real happy.
That would be amazing.
We'll make a big batch of Stale Crackers box pastelaya, and then we'll just give them sample after sample with a little different seasoning on top of the same box.
Yeah.
So do you put the gumbo over your potato salad, or you put your potato salad in, or you have it on the side? This is very controversial.
You saw the picture of mine. I think my favorite thing to do is to put a really thick scoop on one side of the bowl that kind of falls down into it, and then have a lot of it sitting out so it doesn't melt all into it. And then I try to get a little bite of potato salad, a little bite of gumbo, eat it like that. And then towards the end, though, it all starts to melt down and it becomes kind of like a creamy. I like the mustard based, right? You don't like the mustard based? I like the mustard based.
No, I don't like when it all mixes together.
Oh,
yeah.
Dude, it's different. It's not. I wouldn't want my entire gumbo to be like that. But it's kind of like at the end of an ice cream sundae when you got the melted ice cream and the the brownies. Or when you put like ice cream over brownies, right? That's like the thing that pops in my head.
Yeah.
But I like it that way, and I think that's the way that I do it now. That's who I am.
Now,
pick that.
This is a good thing because like my family, we did potato salad with gumbo and we did it on the side. I mean, like the thing about it is nobody cares how you fix your bowl. If you want to put your potato salad in your gumbo and mix it all around, go ahead, do that. Nobody's going to complain. That's your bowl. We don't have to eat it like that. I said, fix your bowl however you want. I've seen people put ketchup on gumbo. I was like, that's a little weird, but I mean, these are people straight up from Louisiana. They put ketchup on gumbo and I'm like, I'm not doing it, but you go ahead and do it because that's your bowl. I don't have to eat it. But, we had it on the sides. But Casey's family, they actually serve sweet potatoes with gumbo.
Sweet potatoes, huh? Are they mashed up or are they like...
It's just a whole baked sweet potato on the side. So I'm from St. Landry Parish, the same as KP, right? So that's like a big thing is sweet potatoes in St. Landry Parish. We're famous for that. So we always had sweet potatoes on the side. Like put them in the oven. You cook them real low and slow until like the sugar is coming out and it's like just caramelizing on the pan. And to me, I will take that over potato salad any day.
That's pretty good.
Do you eat it as like you eat the gumbo by itself, you eat the potato by itself, or do you do kind of what we do with the potato salad and kind of take a little scoop and eat it together? Yeah,
you eat it together,
cool.
but they're separate. Yeah, it's really good. So I'm big on sweet and savory at the same time. So I
am so open-minded when it comes to food. I'm a lot like my dad, and I'm willing to try anything once and give it a shot and see what I like. And if I don't like it, I won't do it again. But I'm always down to try new things. I'm always open-minded to it, and I think you kind of had to be being in my shoes because one of the biggest controversies in crawfish is sauce versus fish. And down here in Texas is really big.
Yeah. See, that was another one of my questions leading into some of the things that getting to know you. Dip with crawfish or no dip with crawfish?
That's a great question. And here's my take on this, right? So Louisiana people, a lot of them online, right? And they'll come into our group in the Crawfish Critic and they say, I'm from Louisiana. And they're like, I guess that makes them here when they talk to everyone down to all of us as Texans that don't know any better, right? And so they'll start their post off with, just so y'all know, I'm from Louisiana. And then it's like, okay, cool. So, and then they'll talk about the sauce and I'm like, there's places in Louisiana, you guys are dipping freaking crawfish in like a mustard mayonnaise mix, And arugula sauce or whatever you want to call it, or different types for different areas, whatever. In Texas, a big one for me, what I love the most is and this is only if the crawfish. So let me start by saying this part. And it's going to be a long one to answer, but I think it's a good thing to get into. Down here in Texas, everywhere, right? We all go to restaurants, we sit down and we eat crawfish and drink beer while we're watching football, right? Like it's a big thing. Whereas when I went to Kentwood and was hanging out, I was like, let's go get some crawfish. He was like, okay. And we like go to a drive-thru, right? And like get it in a bag and take it back and eat it on tailgate or eat it at home, whatever. I'm like, you don't have a place we can just go sit down and drink some beer? And he's like, oh no, we don't really do that here. Now in New Orleans, I know they do that. It's more common there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But down here in Texas, when you have these big restaurants that have these full menus and they've got these full kitchens and then they're serving crawfish as well, they haven't gotten it down to the point where they haven't built their cooking setup to a point to where they can mass produce crawfish for their restaurant and soak it long enough to actually absorb flavor into the tell-me, into juice, flavorful juice into the head. If you give me a good traditional crawfish, I don't need to dip it. I don't need sauce on top of it. I'm going to, suck the head. I'm going to eat the tail, and it's going to be packed with flavor, right?
Right.
But when you go to these restaurants around here, what they do is they try to replace the fact that they can't soak with a good sauce.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not a huge fan of that. I would hate on that too. I'm like, if you have bad crawfish and you put a sauce on it, it's better, but it's still not good. The best crawfish, in my opinion, is good soaked crawfish with a really good butter garlic sauce, right? Spicy butter garlic sauce. And there are some restaurants down there that just do it phenomenal. And so if I'm at a restaurant that didn't soak and they don't have sauce or whatever, then what I'll do is I'll actually mix the butter and spice and make like a paste. And then the crawfish, spice, and butter, and then I'll dip my tails in that. And if the crawfish has got, no good soak in it, so traditional all the way, would rather have that, but I'll make it work,
Yeah. Good answer. Very good answer.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
And out of the two Brandons here, they both make crawfish really, really good. Very, very good. Barbecue Brand is really good at crawfish as well as barbecue. And Brandon D is really good at boiling crawfish too. So I would eat both of their crawfish without dip. But I like the dip too. Because I like the dip with the sausage, right? Which also, Landon C, once again, here we go. Landon C. I will keep bringing this up, by the way.
Landon Swamp, huh?
Yeah.
So let me ask this. What do you dip yours into? Is it more of like ketchup, like mayonnaise sauce with some hot sauce, or is it like the butter? Or like, what do you like to dip that?
I make a remoulade type sauce. It's mayo, ketchup, hot sauce, horseradish, and stuff like that. Right. So that was my task at the crawfish boils at my parents' house. I would make the dip. So I became the dip guy. That was one of my tasks I had to do. Washing crawfish, my number one priority, and then making dip was my second. I make a pretty good cocktail sauce too, which we have with crawfish and shrimp sometimes, and I do like a remoulade sauce, which is a little bit more complicated with like mayo and ketchup and Creole mustard and a bunch of other things. But like my opinion with crawfish is kind of like barbecue. If a good barbecue and good crawfish are the same thing, you don't need sauce for either one. Now it does work as like a little palate cleanser, like having a little bit of dip on the side kind of changes the flavor, kind of breaks the monotony of it. So, you don't need to dip every crawfish, but if you dip every other few crawfish, it's a good little break. It's good to dip your potato in too. Hey,
I like that. Yeah, love dipping potato in the remoulade sauce, and then the butter spice sauce that we do down here.
I've had those. Those are good. Those are good as well. So I mean, but I view crawfish as kind of like an open book. It's just crawfish. God, there's nothing there's nothing special that says you can't be open with it because it's just crawfish. You need to cook it right. Like it needs to have the right cook on it, but it doesn't necessarily. There's no predefined flavor profile that you have to have. It's like shrimp. I mean, you could have shrimp a bunch of different ways. You could have shrimp, a Southwest style shrimp or a Mexican kind of seasoned shrimp, which are delicious. I mean, versus Cajun season, is one better than the other one? You're getting into right now is just different. It's not really superior or great. It's just this is different than the other one.
It comes down to 5 categories, right? Your first one is your flavor, and that is 100% preference of the judge, right? Does it have great flavor that you like or not, right? And so you judge on 1 through 10 on your preference. Then you get into your juiciness. That's fact. Is it juicy or is it not? You know what I mean? Did that flavor and that juice soak up into that tell-me, right? Does that head have lots of flavor in it, right? The juice. So that's kind of fact, right? And then you get into your pillability, all right? That's all judging by how you cook.
Yeah, that's a skill question right there.
That's a big one, right? So how well does it pill? And then you have the texture of the crawfish, right? If it's undercooked, it's going to be chewy. If it's overcooked, it's going to be mushy. And that's fact, right? And so that's kind of how we judge crawfish. And then you have your spice level. If it's way too spicy, it's kind of, I always tell people spice level is kind of like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? You got way too spicy, not good. Not spicy enough, not good. You're looking for that somewhere right in the middle, right? That just right spice. And once again, that's preference, because my spice level may be a 7 is perfect for me, whereas KCP may be more of like a 9, right? Or Brandon's a 3. Right? And so it's
like it's spicy.
I can tell you, KCP is definitely a 9. She's definitely a 9 person. You got that right. One. She's definitely a spice. She's a spice head, so she likes really spicy.
I like a little spice in my stuff.
Yeah, what we say about crawfish is like spice is kind of tricky with crawfish, because you can't be so hot where if you tasted it on the first crawfish, you failed. Like it's not happening, dude. Like, I mean, you got to work. I mean, you're serving it to people. I have to work through a whole plate of these things. You know, you can't.
What's tricky about judging crawfish is you're only eating 3.
Yeah.
Right. And so 2 to 3, because if you got 40 teams you're judging, like that adds up. That's a lot.
It's just quick. Yeah. That's a lot of crawfish. Absolutely.
And so, and that's what gets tough is those teams, they really got to realize like, hey, you got to impress them with 3 crawfish. Whereas if you're selling to the public and serving to the public, like you're saying, you also have to be aware that you want to make something that everybody can eat. And if they want it spicier, then they can dip it, or there's other things they can do. So,
my thing with spice is you should feel it when you're done. Like when you're done, you say like, man, you got a little bit of burn. That's a good one. It's just right.
What's our saying? Warms your soul, not your booty hole.
Not your booty hole. Yeah. You don't want to feel it twice, man. And
oh man.
Yeah, but it's I don't know. Cooking crawfish is the thing you said about the soak stuff. Restaurants are in a tough spot because they have to deal with a lot of water that they have to throw away. That's salty water, and that's salinity stuff. I mean, there's laws against that. You can't dump that just down the drain, because you'll start turning the bayou salty with all the crawfish people boil in this area. So
right, you got to be careful with that side. Yeah, I tell you though, man, there are some crawfish restaurants that have figured it out. Like I'm gonna tell you right now, the 2-pot method.
Yeah,
down the best way to do it, dude. If you guys don't know about the 2-pot method, I know you guys do, but the listeners, if you guys don't know what the 2-pot method is, change the game, man. If you're doing 3 sacks or more, you should be cooking in 2 pots and do this for yourself and then come back and talk to us, right? Boil crawfish in plain water and then pull them out and then go to your soak pot. Keep your soak pot between 150, 160. They won't keep cooking, right? And some people even say go lower. I think 160. If you don't go above that, it should be good. Brandon, you can kind of tap it on that, but that's my understanding, right? And then as they're soaking in that soak pot, they just whip in all that flavor. And then you look at your other pot and how disgusting that water turned, and the smell of it smells like sewage. It's awful. And you go, oh, if you're cooking in 1 pot, that's what you're mixing with all that amazing seasoning that you put in there. And all that flavor is mixing with that yuck. And that's 1 sack. So then you do 2 sacks, 3 sacks. By the time you get the 5th sack, I mean, that water is so absolutely disgusting. No matter how much more seasoning you add to it, trying to freaking balance it's terrible. But you do that 2-pot method, that soak pot stays a lot more pure. And you don't have to spend as much money, add more seasonings and trying to do all this stuff to it, because it's a much purer pot. And so that's where the restaurants have got to go, is they've got to have these giant pots where you can pull. Because here's the thing. I'll tell you, I learned this. We'll have crawfish bowls, and by the last batch, we're all drunk, right? So we're all hanging out partying. We used to just leave the last batch. So one night, though, I finished the last batch probably somewhere around 11 p.m., left it in there, man. I'm done with crawfish. Got the last one soaking. I'm done, right? Forget about it. 2 a.m. I'm like, oh, man, all those crawfish are out there. We go out there drunk, and we're just putting our hands straight in the pot because it's cool at this point. It's still warm. It's all still warm. We're pulling out, and it was the best crawfish I ever in my life.
Oh, wow.
Juiciest, most flavorful. I mean, it was, what was that? Probably at least 3 hours of soaking. Didn't ruin them one bit. So if I'm in a restaurant, I'm going 2-pot method, even 3-pot method, have 2 soak pots that you alternate between. Cook, dump, serve out of the soak pot. Straight out of it. right?
Yeah.
Get it, weigh it, serve it. So when they get it, it's perfect because a lot of restaurants try and cook to order, and then they're getting complained to that it's taking too long.
Right.
You want good crawfish, you want to wait a long time. Well, how about we just do both, right? Get it to them quick, and there are restaurants that have mastered it, so I know it can be done. Shout out Tabs Texas Crawfish Company, one of the best around. Next time you guys are down there in crawfish season, I'm gonna take you on a crawfish crawl.
Okay, sounds good.
I mean, that sounds like a party to me.
The Crawfish Critic really elevated the level of crawfish in our area because it can be a restaurant's best friend or worst enemy, right? I actually don't do bad reviews anymore because after my second year, we had grown to a point where when I did a bad review, it hurt them, and I was not there to do that. And I'm like, okay, we're not doing that anymore. I will go talk to the owner, kind of explain to them, what's going on, and give them some advice, and put them in contact with people that would be willing to help them if they wanted more advice, And but I will never do bad reviews anymore. But what it's done though is that everybody else does the bad reviews, and so if you're not serving good crawfish, everyone in Montgomery County is gonna know about it, and they're not gonna be hitting your spot up, right? And it's one of those things that made everybody kind of raise the level of crawfish in our area. And so our crawfish crawls are pretty awesome. And a lot of the cook teams that cook at the Critic and have been cooking for me for 7 years, they've gotten so popular because of the events and cooking at those events that they've got 2-3 locations now. Wow. They're doing caterings. They've got bull trucks everywhere, partnering with bars. And so when we do the crawls, we'll rent like a party bus and we'll go from crawfish restaurant, and everybody goes in, we get a couple of drinks, we eat some crawfish, and we bounce to the next spot. And everybody meets us there, and it's a lot of fun.
That sounds like a good
time. Amazing.
Barbecue brand, all you guys, and
we love crawfish, man. We'll definitely be down for that. That sounds like a good time.
Brand, you got to join us for the next fishing trip too, man. I know you were out there with Rusty and all that, but
we crushed it, man.
Yeah. Trust me, I'm gonna be a part of a lot more things coming very soon.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Since I'm the dessert person on here, right? I'm the baker. I have to ask you because the holidays are coming up, right? What's your favorite holiday dessert?
Ooh, that's a great one. Holiday dessert. I'm not a huge dessert guy, but I also love them at the same time. I would have to say holiday dessert, pumpkin pie comes to mind, right? Because my other favorite desserts, I don't know if I'd categorize as a holiday dessert. So right. I'll go with pumpkin pie as my favorite seasonal dessert.
Okay. And what, like, non-seasonal? Just throw it out there.
Non-seasonal. Tres leches cake that's my go-to. My son got me involved. He wanted a tres leches cake for every one of his birthdays. His grandpa is Hispanic, right? And they make it homemade, and I was like, you know what? Every birthday I want one too now. So I think that'd have to be the best one.
I remember the first time I had tres leches cake, and I thought it was just like a plain old sheet cake, and I was like, this is sheet cake, and I tasted it. I was like, whoa, what's this? This is different and good. And really good.
Yeah, it's good, and it's a different. It's almost weird because it's like a moist, really moist, liquidy cake, right? It's like, but I'll tell you this: that opinion can change very quick when you start going to some of these dessert category cook-offs, like we did last year. Like Rusty made this dessert. I mean, it was like just phenomenal. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna keep that open minded. I'm gonna try and push for a little bit more dessert categories. In this case, maybe you got to get in one with us, right?
Hey, I'm just saying, I'm ready for it.
Awesome.
I can throw punches too. So every episode that we do, we try to end with a little end quote of the night. So I have the little quote for us tonight, and it goes a little something like this: laughter is the brightest in the place where food is good. And this is an Irish proverb. So with that being said, we want to thank you, Christian, so much for joining us tonight. And we are so excited to do some more events with you in the future. And as always, keep stirring that pot.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll keep stirring that pot. Yeah, thank you.
Hey.